So we want to highlight here a couple of reasons why you should care about our dust collectors. Um, why it's important for your business, why it's important for you. And let's start by talking about our first slide here. Reasons we have the dust collectors is because they provide a safe working environment, clean working environment for everybody that works at the facility. And it's easy to overlook that sometimes if we're in the office, but the reality is everybody suffers if the environment is dirty in the plant. But more than just providing something that's comfortable, it's really a matter of safety in many instances. Obviously, there's toxic chemicals, things that are hazardous that we work with sometimes that have to be maintained, clean. But many times, even dust that's not toxic is something that's a hazard when it's found in large amounts in a work environment. And that's why there's specific OSHA regulations we have to comply with many times. And a very large, very important aspect of that also is dust that are combustible. So these could be things like food, these things could be metals, things that we don't think of normally as hazardous, but actually when present in a dusty environment, when dust is built up, they become very big safety hazards and present a real life hazard to your workers and to your equipment and to your facility. So making sure the system works well maintains that environment that's safe for everybody. Because at the end of the day, we want everyone to enjoy working for us, being able to go home at the end of the day while also being productive. Now, the second reason why we should care about them is that it's necessary to have a good dust collection system that operates well in order to achieve compliance with environmental regulations. So there's definitely a lot of pushback in some areas about environmental regulations that a plant has to meet. And it's a little bit of a patchwork, so it creates quite a lot of different views on the subject. Some people feel that theirs is very simple, they don't do anything that's polluting, so they don't need to worry about it so much. Or they've always had it, easy from the regulators, and that's going to stay that way forever because where we live, it's this way. Maybe in other places, but here it's going to stay this way. The reality is the regulations don't get looser as time goes on. They get tougher and tougher, more stringent. And less we see things like grandfather clauses that let you continue operating how you always have. And new regulations come into effect after many years of analysis and implementation. And sometimes it's just a matter of you've had an old inspector that did things a certain way for many years. All it takes is that new inspector to come in or someone else to rotate in. And now all of a sudden you feel like you're facing all kinds of different regulations you never had to comply with before. Well, what's the story? The story is that it's always been your responsibility. Perhaps it just wasn't enforced. So we should get rid of the idea that we're always going to be able to sneak under the radar if we do this or that, or we do it this way. Sooner or later, we all have to comply with the newer regulations. And key to doing that is having the dust collection system work well. And this also applies with things like older types of collectors, older systems. Just because they used to meet compliance, you used to get a pass from the inspector, not going to be the case anymore. And it's important because when we have violations of the air permits, right, we have things like fines, we get sanctions, or we might even reduce our output, or we can have shutdowns, and of course, negative publicity that's generated as well. Now, our other reason here that we can mention, our third reason, is that having a well-designed and operated system, it protects the quality of the products you manufacture and also the equipment in your facility. And it's just conducive to higher productivity. So what do we mean by that? Well, many process applications produce materials or final goods where the quality is directly impacted by how good the dust collection system works. Think about things like pharmaceuticals, food products, precious metals. We worked many years ago at a platinum mine, platinum metals group mine. And that plant was so clean because by the time the dust leaves, it comes in the plant in a large dumpster and it's worth several $100,000. By the time it leaves, that same dumpster has been reduced down to a paint bucket that's worth tens of millions of dollars. So every single speck of dust in that plant was reused because it was valuable. So we can think of an extreme case like that. But it goes for other things too that are somewhere in the middle there. If the dust collector is not working well, it affects quality, it affects output, things like that. And the same goes with manufactured goods. We work at several large guitar factories, for example, and if the dust collection system is not working well in one part of the plant, they actually had a big problem where airborne dust was lofting over and affecting the painting and finishing areas of the plant, completely on the other side of the plant. And it was causing them more delays, lowering the quality of the finishes. So having the dust collection system work well for them directly impacted how long it took them to manufacture each good that went out of the plant. And then kind of indirect costs we can think of. A dirty plant means that every piece of equipment in there is now subject to be damaged by it. Every conveyor, every mechanical device, every motor, every light switch, everything you could possibly think of in there is now subject to fugitive dust, dust piling on top of it. All of those things wear down that equipment that in the long run costs you and your plant more money. And then finally, it's just common sense that if our plant is dirty, it's hard to move around, there's large dust piles everywhere, it just makes it difficult to get things done. Same reason your mom or dad taught you to clean your room when you were a kid. When things are clean, everything works better. And our plants are no different. If our plants are dirty, it's just harder to make things and get stuff done. So these three reasons we've just talked about, having compliance with environmental purposes, making sure that our workspaces are safe, as well as just keeping a clean environment for productivity reasons, they're all reasons you should care about your dust collection system. And we just want to clarify something. We know it's the least fun thing to talk about or work on. I mean, it's our business and we don't even like getting in them either. But don't let your dislike of the dirty piece of equipment let you overlook their importance. Because often when they're neglected, they become the thing you spend most of your time working on. And then instead of being people that make products that do this, do that, you become people who are professional baghouse problem solvers, problem attenders. And that's not the purpose of our businesses. Our business is to do something that makes profit, that we enjoy, that serves a greater purpose. It's not there to work on baghouses. So if we pay attention to them, we can avoid spending all of our time being baghouse people and get back to doing what's important.